All right, we're live. We're just having a drink. We're just having a drink, and we are answering questions from anyone that has a question. It can be about the Chicago Bears. It can be about anybody else in the NFL. It could be about the draft, which I don't know anything about, but EJ does. It can be about TV, movies. It can be you can have us rank stuff. You can have
Holiday
us
traditions.
whatever, man, whatever.
Yeah.
Off-season ideas, topics, right? To write about, to research, whatever you guys want to talk about. We are here, and here's the thing: this team is 3-12. They just got destroyed by a team that very well could be the Super Bowl champion here in a few weeks. That tape is terrible. There are no lessons to be learned from that tape.
There are very few lessons to be learned from that tape. Let's put it that way. I went on Rockpile Report, our buddies in Buffalo, because of course the Bears are playing the Bills, and they were like, "Hey, you want to come on talk about the Bears?" That was a fun session. Drew and Chris are great guys, and we talked about it, and they were like, "Well, so what do you think?" And I was like, "Well, you shouldn't be expecting a lot, right?" And I think my score prediction was 34, and I think I said 16. I said 34 for the Bills and about 16 for the Bears. Just some
Pretty
random.
good.
Yeah, it came in real close. And they were like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, if, basically, especially on defense, if you haven't been traded or you're not on IR, that's what's left. Like, that's most of everybody that you would know. In fact, if you, as a Bills fan, could name 3 players on the Bears defense right now that are healthy and starting, I would be impressed, because they're not. I mean, Jalen Johnson, I would kind of expect, but he's again low key good player on the NFL
Under the
stage.
radar.
Yeah, but a very good corner if you're paying attention. And other than that, I would expect you to struggle. Like, if you pay attention in the draft, you could probably name Brisker or Gordon, maybe both. Sanborn's on IR. Sanborn was the second, was the replacement for Roquan, who's, Eddie, IR, Roquan traded, Quinn traded, Justin Jones. Some people know that he was, again, the B option coming from the Chargers to the Bears after the Ogunjobi failed physical. Like, it's not a name defense. It is the antithesis of that. It is a no-name defense, and it is a less name defense even than that, because people have been traded or they're on IR. So,
right.
First quarter, and Chris was like, "Has your run defense always been like this?" Or second quarter, after James Cook took off and ran like a deer, and I was like, "Dude, there's literally nobody left." Like, the one guy that was playing cleanup in the middle, Jack Sanborn, for 12 or 13 tackles a week is on IR. Like, there's nobody left. There's Morrow, and he's decent in pass coverage. He showed that again this week. And there's just a bunch of guys, like, no offense to guys like DHC, who play their hearts out and whatever else. This is not a shot at young guys like Travis Gibson or Dominic Robinson. It's just it is what it is. There's no dudes left. You talk about, Jimmys and Joes over X's and O's. There's no Jimmys and Joes left. Like, this is second and third stringers, and guys that were picked off the UDFA pile. Like, that's what it is on defense. On offense, it's Justin, and that's it. Like, it's Justin.
Yeah. You didn't watch Bear and Balanced, I assume.
I did not. Sorry, no offense.
No, none taken. And it is, do you know how many starting offensive line combinations? Not guys that come in at one point.
I would say
starting offensive line, 15 games.
15
how many
games.
Different starting lineups for the offensive line?
They're 13 or 14.
No.
It seems reasonable to me at this point. With
8 different starting combinations.
I would have gone for like 11, actually. 14 seemed high, but I would have gone for 11, and you could have told me 11, and I would have been like, "Yep, that's totally correct."
So, all right, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking on the board. Jameson Black Barrel, one of my all-time favorites, just general goes-tos, but also something I always have around for the holidays because it is that, being Irish, it is my favorite Irish. It's kind of like a cross between Irish and bourbon. If you're into that, it's an aged in barrels sort of a thing. But to ramp it up, I have the Peyton glass. So for those of you that are not familiar, this is a Walter Payton glass, has his name and, name, signature, and likeness on the front, and then a whole bunch of records on the back. It is a big tumbler, so I will not be filling it, but it is Walter Payton's league records as they stood when he retired. So many of them have been, some of them have been eclipsed. But I'm going to put a couple fingers of Black Barrel in that. And then to back that up, because we're celebrating, because it's been a very good year in a lot of ways. I have a local beer, Drew Brew, which is a brewery right up on the top of Snoqualmie Pass, which is the mountain pass between Eastern and Western Washington, for those of you not familiar. And this is the Brew Ski Patrol, German style dark lager beer. It's much like Ninkasi Slayer or whatever else, but it's local. Happen to have met Drew. He's a good dude. His crew's great. So happy to feature a local beer on the program. What do you have?
Yeah, EJ really likes his Irish whiskey, for those
He
of you that
does.
don't know that. So
Yeah.
after some conversation with you when we were
Oh.
out together in Seattle, you had mentioned this Texas distillery,
Oh, yes.
Balcones, and you had mentioned Brimstone as something that you weren't into, but your better half in
Yes.
the other show
Yes.
was into. And so I was intrigued by the label. I don't know if this is like, I just poured myself a healthy pour,
There you
but
go.
it is Brimstone by Balcones, and it is their pot distilled Texas scrub oak smoked roasted blue corn whiskey, 106 proof. I like, there's some shade on the back. They say
Yes, there is. It's Texas after all.
aged at least 1 day in oak. That is a double middle finger salute to all of the rules of Kentucky bourbon.
Yep.
Which is, first charred oak barrel has to be in the barrel for 4 years to be able to call it Kentucky bourbon. Has to be in Kentucky, all that kind of
bottled
stuff.
in bond, blah blah blah.
Bottled bond means something very specific.
They're like,
all those
we
words are
poured
really
this
important.
over a piece of wood on the way to the glass.
They're like,
drink it.
It was aged for at least a day in oak. We're not gonna tell you anymore. I was like, holy crap, that is really, really kind of an FU. But anyway, that's kind of interesting. Very interesting description on the back. And they, said, hey, you like smoky whiskeys, you like big flavors, whatever, this is for you. Aromas of masa, Texas campfire, and powdered sugar backed by stone fruit, peppery spice, and mint. So we'll see. I think if nothing else, if this isn't like just a sipper, which I kind of doubt it will be, but like, whatever, I always sip every bottle I get, I sip it first.
For sure.
And then I figure out how I'm going to use it. Now, if I could just get to sip it, that's great. Like that, there's a few that are like that, and I just drink them straight, and that's great. And then if I really like them, those become like on my, a permanent fixture where I'll make sure I grab a bottle, have one on hand. I only have a couple of bottles that are like that. Otherwise, I figure out how to use them. What cocktails does go best in, and try to use it up that way.
Yeah, that one will be interesting. Cheers to you, indeed. That one is, to me, like drinking liquid campfire. When they say Texas campfire, I don't care if they aged it in oak or not. It very much tasted to me like they scraped the coals out of what would be a mesquite campfire and like poured it through that and like filtered it up.
I kind of like it.
Oh, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said it's like drinking a liquid
I've
campfire.
had much smokier. Lagavulin.
Oh yeah, well,
is insane,
and Lafroig, and
but it has a different. They're right about the pepper.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a peppery smoke. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's fun. Again, that actually probably does. I taste a little bit of ethanol on the back end, which to me means it needs to be a little bit of a mixer. It's not tame enough.
Oh, so tame is not a word I would use to describe Brimstone.
Right. So I think there's probably some cocktails that need to be explored with that. But very interesting. Yeah, it's
reminds me
powerful.
Very much of Texas. Yeah, it reminds me of Texas in several ways. One is the sort of screw you, we'll do it how we want. Two is it's smoky, but it's not peaty, and that's a difference. Like,
Very true.
it is mesquite smoky, like they said. And then it's almost like they went, what else could we do to this? Oh, we could take a little bit of this barbecue rub here we have and just drip it in there. And like, oh yeah, okay. So you get that little bit of pepper, a little bit of heat to it that's not smoke. So it's smoke and heat and then whiskey. And then we'll do it how we
It's
want and
spicy.
just mix you up and like, here you go. And if you don't like it, screw you, it's Texas. So it is a thing, but it's worth trying.
It's like a Texas style of Talisker. For those of you that know your
Yes.
scotches, Talisker is a lot more peppery than it is peaty. So it's kind of in that direction. So very interesting. Okay, enough of the whiskey talk. Orlando Brown, yay or nay? I am a nay.
No, hardcore nay.
Yeah.
If you've watched the Chiefs this year, no. No. Like, he almost got away with, remember in the offseason, Orlando Brown Jr. said, I need to be the highest paid tackle in the NFL because I'm playing left tackle and I want my money. Good for him. Nice gambit. I appreciate it. Oh boy, are the Chiefs glad they didn't give that up, because he's been abysmal in pass pro this year. Like, abysmal.
Yeah. He's a gambler. I watched a bunch of his tape last year. So in the off season, because I was, a lot of chatter about him, watched a lot of his tape. He is the biggest gambler I've ever seen in my life. And he just doesn't win. And this is not Joe Thomas. There's no technical soundness is not necessarily his thing. I don't know how else to put it. He gambles. Like he tries to guess, and then so he gets beat super bad, or he can win the rep early because he guesses right, if that makes any sense.
No, to me, it reminds me of a boxing analogy. He is a puncher, right? He is a haymaker artist, and he is big and heavy and slow footed. And so if he guesses right and lands one, he's going to knock you out. Like,
Right.
he's going to drill the rep. It's over. If he gets his hands on you, if he guesses right and hits you where he wants to hit you early in the rep, it's not going to be a good rep for you. If he swings and you pull your chin back half an inch, he's going to be staggering trying to keep himself up on his own feet, and then you got a free path to whatever you want. So when you say gambler, it reminds me of that big puncher, right? He's looking for the one shot, but he's looking for the one shot every play. And if he hits it, cool. If he misses it, no hope of recovery, no core flexibility to be able to reach out and slow people down. Like, that's it. And am I paying big money for that? No. Am I putting the future of my franchise quarterback in Justin Fields behind that? No. Like, I think the Bears are currently doing better with what they have than going out and getting Orlando Brown Jr.
He's a weird guy to watch. I mean, there's just not anybody else that I can recall that's like that. Yeah. And I mean, he's definitely had an interesting career so far. Like, playing for a couple good teams, big high profile trade and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and his draft status was absolutely tanked in the fact that he had a historically bad,
bad athlete,
historically bad performance at the combine. It literally tanked his stock. It was so bad that people went, well, that's below all the minimums. So, except for size and reach, all of his athletic testing was well below what you would expect somebody. And so people went, well, right tackle at best, but that's why he went where he went. And, yeah, fascinating guy, but am I paying any more than backup money, which he will make? Let's be honest. Somebody will pay it. It shouldn't be the Bears. Yeah. It's putrid.
That's bad.
You don't see a lot of red in our ass. That is all red. Both sides. Speed grade, size grade. Like, it's just bad. Like, the only thing he's got going for him is the size grade, height
Big
and weight.
dude.
Like, big dude, big reach, got it. His ability to explode, his ability to stretch or bend, shift directions, accelerate, all that. Like, super duper terrible. But if you watch his tape at Oklahoma, that was not a surprise. He won with being extremely physical. Like, come to me and I will punish you because I am a big, powerful dude with strong hands and long arms. Like, that was his game. when he got against super shifty guys or guys that had very good moves to make him shift his hips one way or another, it wasn't pretty.
Yep. Yeah, we'll pass on that. Let's see.
Ooh, thoughts on drafting Keishon Butte? I don't know that he's coming out. Actually, I
Yeah,
think
he announced. He announced
he announced
about an hour ago. Yep.
Oh, funny, because like 3 weeks ago he said he was going back.
He said he thought about it.
Yeah. He said he was going back, and now he says he's coming out. I think somebody said,
Hey, maybe
the iron's about as hot as it's going to get. It's not going to get a lot hotter next year. And let's look at all the guys that have done what you say you think you're going to do, which is go back and improve your stock. Let's look at all theirs and see if they actually did better than their projection the year before. And the answer is, it's not a sterling record. Like if you have a decent amount of interest, and he certainly does. He had a ton of preseason interest. The amount of performance throughout the season was what gave him pause to say, maybe I can go back and better my stock. Did not have a great, we'll just call it his last year, because it's so hard to say whether it's somebody's junior year or senior year because of all the eligibility and COVID and whatever else. Interested, yes. He would be like a Velus Jones type for me in terms of where he gets picked. At the beginning of the season, preseason, everybody was like, he's going to be the number one receiver. He is clearly not the number one receiver in this class as we sit right now. Am I still interested in him? Yes. Is he still a talented player? Yes. Does his school have a pedigree of producing very good wide receiving prospects? Yes. So he's there. He's on the radar. He's a guy to consider. It's a very talented receiving class. I don't have any kind of a stack or grade because I haven't watched everybody yet. Is he at the top? No. Is he still interesting and could be a mid-round, I would say, not first-round target that the Bears could get and use and have in what is a very poor wide receiver room right now? 100%. So
it's like a day 2 guy.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about him yet. So
he's cool. He's fun. He's big and fast. Like,
I don't touch that stuff until, I mean, not that I touch it like you guys do, but I don't touch it until the Super Bowl's over, right?
You make it sound dirty, JB. I don't touch it like you guys do.
Well, let's be honest.
Dark rooms,
it is
low lights.
It is pretty obsessive what you guys do.
Yes.
Mr. Myrtle says, Spot Track is now my most viewed site of the year. Send help. I can't help you.
I can. I will send Brad Spielberger to your doorstep and he will convert you to.
Yeah, I'm saying you're lost, man.
OTC.
You need to be over the cap.
Over the cap. So Sport Track is very, very viewed, and it's quite pretty. It has a fine interface. The information I will tell you is not as up to date as Over the Cap. They have some misses on there in terms of things they haven't updated yet or things they just failed to update. I mean, I get it, right? The Bears have a historically large sum of money to spend in the offseason. Talking about, opinions vary, but somewhere between $105 and $125 million right now, without any adjustments, extensions, whatever else. Going to be somewhere between 105 and 125 to spend next year. What a lot of people don't realize about that money is that there are minimums. There are floors. There's a salary cap and there's a salary floor. And by the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, you have to spend a minimum amount of your available cap. And for the Bears, that number is huge. It is huge. You're going to see some big deals. You might see a Christian Kirk-like deal that sort of sets the market at a position where people go, whoa, they paid that for a guard. Bottom line is they kind of have to. They're only going to have 53 guys on their roster. And most of the lower end deals that you see are, 1 year, $1 million. 1 year, $1 million. You can sign 19 guys and still have $100 million to spend. The Bears are going to have to get aggressive with some positions. Justin Fields is a huge draw. Having a quarterback and a culture, which the Bears have both of right now, makes it an open destination. Taxes are the one thing that doesn't make Illinois a great destination compared to a place like Florida. But the Bears have to spend boatloads of money. Like, they have to by rule. So a lot of people are like, oh, save it, push it forward. Yes, you can do some contract extensions with it, but who's left? Like, Roquan was that guy. Quinn might have been that guy for an end of year or end of career deal. Like, there's nobody left. You can't really extend anybody. Jalen, maybe?
Jalen, Mooney, Claypool obviously has just got there. It's tough to make that argument, but those are the guys that you could see them giving some money to before the year starts. And Claypool probably not, just because you just got him in the building, but those are the guys, right? And it's just not there. Obviously, Montgomery, but even if you gave Montgomery a contract, it's a running back contract. It's not that much.
It's gonna be like $8 million.
There is, the formula is not it's not super straightforward. Like, it's like a 3-year rolling average, like there's a lot of things with it. So they don't have to spend all the money, but they have to spend some, and they have to put themselves in the right
lot of
track.
it.
So, yeah, they'll be spending it. That they will be active. So, yeah, check out Over the Cap. See if you like that a little better. We support our friend Brad Spielberger, who used to work for Over the Cap. So clearly we like that. And, I try to always use Brad's stuff. Like, he has his own draft value guide. The Spielberger draft chart. I use that, instead of some of the other ones that have been out there for a while. So we like Brad. We support his stuff. So
I made him squirm this week just for fun. This is one of those fun, like, hey, it's a holiday party story. So all the talk about Denver, right? And of course, whenever I have a contract question, I always go to Brad first. Brad is an amazing resource and super talented. And so I reached out to Brad and I said, hey, Brad, what's the number if Denver dumps Russ next year? And he tried to be diplomatic. To his credit, Brad is a diplomatic guy.
Right.
And he said, really can't do anything until the next year. I said, I know. Give me the Armageddon number. What would be the number if they just want to do a Ryan Poles and burn bridges and say, that's it, you're out, no more office in the building, take your money and go raise your family? Like, what's the number? And he resisted for a while. And then he ended up writing an article, which did not have the number in it, but he responded to me after some badgering. And the number is $107 million worth of dead cap if they make him a post June 1 cut.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's impossible. Like, you can't field the rest of the roster with your current obligations with that much money on dead cap. So they legitimately have to wait to 2024. And he gave the numbers for that. And they're still not pretty. It's like a split. If they make him a post June 1 cut next year, it's like 38 and 49, like 2023 and 2024. Like, it's gross. There's no good way out. That is a better way out than obviously $107 million worth of medicine in one swallow. But it's a fascinating situation. NFL historically, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane. Rob's got a question about the offensive line. Why does it Bears make it seem impossible to form an offensive line? Here's the thing. So again, Monday's show, I went through and I counted all the starting combinations, and I was just gonna maybe come up with a little bit of a graphic or something. I'm still playing with it. Just kind of show the shifts. 8 different offensive line starting combinations throughout the year. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that those 8 combinations are not what Ryan Poles, not that he didn't expect 8. Of course he didn't. Like, no one goes into the season thinking, I might shuffle this, they're going to shuffle this around. There'll be 8 different no. I don't think any of those combinations are what Poles had on his board for the beginning of the year. Like, we never saw Jones, Whitehair, Patrick at center, Jenkins, and I would think that when he signed Riley Reif, he thought that was going to be his starter. Doesn't matter. Like, he never got that 5, even if it was Reif or Borum. But when he drew it up on his whiteboard, in the summer, training camp starts, and he knew what he wanted. He had a depth chart up there, and he never got it. Not one game with that 5. It's tough.
No, it's brutal. Like, it is brutal, and you're right. And I think the question can be blown up, like inflated, to why do the Bears make it seem impossible to form an offense? Like, they haven't for a long time. Like, the last time there was a legit offense, you think about, it was, Brandon Marshall and Martellus Bennett and Cutler and a good
Alshon.
offensive line. Like, that was a legit NFL, like, dangerous offense. And since then, it's been a while now, it has been patch it together, not what we wanted, not the right guys, trading away other guys. Like, offensive line has subbed a bunch of it. It just, the quarterback has subbed a large part of it. Like, it's all not great. And it has been historically tough for the Bears to put together an offense. And this next year, I think the hope that we all have is they could do it, to coin a phrase from my buddy from North Carolina. I think they could do it. And they could, like, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus still have to pull the right levers. It's a lot of money, but you got to make the right choices, both in free agency and the draft. But the potential is there, and you have the quarterback. Like, we can talk all we want about the decrepit wide receiver room. We could talk all we want about whether Cole Kmet is a 2 or a 3 in the NFL, but he's not a 1. Like, it doesn't matter. They have a decent running back room that they can make some decisions about. They have the quarterback. That's the thing. And they have all this money and a full slate of draft picks. The potential, and that's what it is right now, potential is there to build a real NFL offense. And Bears fans won't know what to do with themselves if that's the case, because they just haven't seen it a lot in their lifetime. Like, they've seen it a few times.
Very true. You got to go in the record books.
Yeah.
Nice comment from Beck here. Give JB and EJ a boost. Give the stream a like. I don't do this often. I don't try to like, subscribe, smash buttons, and all that kind of stuff. It is what it is. But end of the year, if you've enjoyed some of our content, whatever our shows are, and you're not subscribed, subscribe. And then you'll get to know when stuff comes up, and it helps us. Those numbers help us. Get new stuff for you guys to have.
Shiny new presents for Bears over
things,
Beers.
It does help. I'm gonna hit a pop culture question. We'll mix in the football. You guys got more pop culture questions? Like, add those in. We'd like to talk about it. I had to look it up because I don't know what this is, and then I looked it up, and it's in the Star Wars universe.
Sadness.
My whole thing. I've got a theory. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
131. I don't know your age. I'm not asking your age or anything like that. I've got a theory that people in my short amount of time, a couple years above, a couple years below, sort of missed it. Right? Like, all the big Star Wars. You're older than me. You came out influenced by the first theatrical releases of the Star Wars. Big deal
100%.
For your age range. Absolutely. They were kind of old by the time I was in that range. Didn't really like them. The next 3 came out. They were flops.
Yep.
Okay. It was even too late for us then.
Yep.
Even if they would have been good, I think it was a little too late. And then you see a lot of people like you have kids. You bring your kids up, the kids like it, right? And then the third set of 3 comes out, and then they sort of expand the universe. I just kind of missed it. I kind of missed the boat. And so I'm not into this. I tried The Mandalorian because I know that was, people love The Mandalorian. I tried it. We got about half the season in, but it didn't like grab me. It was okay. Like, it was okay. But so tell me about Andor.
I have a starter kit for you, because you're right. It is very much about where you came into this, what it means to you, the relevance it has or doesn't have. For me, it's incredibly impactful. Star Wars, first major, and you can say it's a kid's movie, first major adult movie I ever saw with my dad. Like, he took me out on a weeknight. I was in first grade and said, we're going to see this. And again, Star Wars was not a theatrical success when it was released. Like, it was a B movie. Sci-fi was in the tank. It was not a thing. It became a thing. But he was like, no, this is cool. It's good. You're going to like this. Let's go see this. So for me, it's hugely like it's a foundational piece. I was absolutely a Star Wars kid. Had the Star Wars figures, had the Star Wars ships, had Star Wars cards. Like I was a Star Wars kid because it was so cool, and I wanted to be a pilot. So Luke's pilot, X-wings, the whole bit. I was like sold. And then yeah, we waited for a long time. The second trilogy came out. It's cool. It's good. And then the third, whatever you want to call it, trilogy came out, and it was a long wait, and okay, there's some cool stuff in there, but really as a thing, not great. And then J.J. Abrams takes over, and yeah, still not getting it. And then Jon Favreau, who's responsible for resurrecting not one but two of my favorite things from childhood, right? He's the guy that made Iron Man, the first one that launched the whole MCU. Like before that, there hadn't been a really good superhero movie series cartoon. You can talk about X-Men as the animated series. Great. Favreau comes out and makes Iron Man, and it was like, fuck yes. Nice job. That's beautiful. That's what it should be. It's fun. It's loud. It's rock and roll. Like, let's go. And the MCU launches off that. And we can talk about that in a whole different thing. Favreau says, I can do the same thing for Star Wars. I can go take this character, I can pull him out, and I can make something out of it. But it is a kid series. Mandalorian is like, I've heard it described as a Western for like teenagers, right? That's the way it's written. So it's not necessarily the greatest starting point. For you, very analytical, like a little bit more intrigue and depth, I would say, if you haven't, watch Rogue One, the movie.
Okay. I haven't.
Okay. So watch Rogue One, because Rogue One, I think, is one of the preeminent pieces of Star Wars dumb made in the last 20 years. Like it is a beautiful kind of it. At the time, it was like a standalone film. And you'll see why when you watch it, because there's a finality to it. Then the Star Wars universe comes back and says, hey, we should expand on this because Rogue One is cool. Like Rogue One hit the right notes of an adult sort of Star Wars to explain like why this happened, not just be a big, galactic soap opera. Then they give the shot to Andor. And Andor, yes, I have watched it. It is beautiful. It is great. It is an expansion of why someone would do this. And it's beautifully shot. Like it's gorgeous to watch. And it has some great talent in it. They collected a lot of great talent. You'll recognize a lot of actors and actresses in it. And they play it very, very well. It's super well written. So watch Rogue One and then watch Andor.
Okay.
Forget the rest of it. And then then just go, okay, like I could see this has some value. Or you might still say, it just doesn't grab me. It's not my thing. Like,
or this is
fine.
enough.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Myrtle, thank you very much for that. And thanks for the happy holidays to you as well. And appreciate it. Yeah. I'm always up for something. I mean, I'll binge just about anything. I'm almost done with Jack Ryan. I got one episode left of season 3. It's a totally mid show, but I just Wendell Pierce is so effing good. I will watch him. I will watch him paint a wall. I think he's fantastic. So I'm into Jack Ryan.
I have 2 episodes of that down.
Okay.
My plug for Ryan, which I put out on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, you've already seen this. The intro sequence for Jack Ryan, which they recycled from season 1, is from a visual design standpoint fucking brilliant. Like I'm a Clancy head. Like I have all Clancy's books over there. Like Clancy as a person, I'm not wild about. Clancy as an author, yep, I got it. I know it's a formula. I know the formula. I love the formula. I read them all in hardcover when I was a kid. If you are true to that, the intro piece for Jack Ryan, Amazon Prime's Jack Ryan series, is brilliant visual candy with layers and depth that are all relevant and it is a masterwork of a 2-minute intro for a show. Like
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's very good.
Gorgeous.
You're working blue tonight, man. That's 2 Fs. So
we have Jameson
Irish whiskey. It kind of gets you going. We don't normally do that here, so I'm just saying, like,
B, I had I had a Fremont Lush before we started, and
Okay.
C, I also cracked the Drew Brew. So happy holidays to all of you.
All right. Off camera, I swear more than probably 95% of you, but like I try
You
not to
know
do that
who was was known for being incredibly like rough with swear words? That's football related.
Howard Cosell.
No, well, yes, but no. That's not who that's
Okay, who
not
you
who I
got?
was trying to. Madden.
Oh, I mean I buy that.
No, Madden.
I
So
buy that.
when the Madden franchise was launched, great story. He was like, I'll listen, because video games were in
Right.
their
Sure.
infancy in terms of popularity. And he was like, maybe, like, pitch me on it. And Madden famously would not fly. He was taking a train from the East Coast to the West Coast. And the original EA, Electronic Arts producers, arranged to ride the train for 2 of the 3 days with Madden to pitch him the game. So they sit on a train and they go, John, this is our vision. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want. And Madden, former teacher, a lot of people don't know that, very inquisitive, which a lot of people do know, just grilled them the whole time. What about this? What about this? What would this look like? And was the thing that the EA producer in the Madden bio that I watched said was he was so profane, like every third word was an F-bomb. And I was so surprised because I'd watched him for years and I'd never heard it. He famously never swore on air, which is amazing because in his private life, he swore like every third or fourth word. And Madden basically said to them, I kind of like it. I understand it. But EA said, due to limits of processing power, we can't have 11 on 11. We're going to have like 6 on 6 or maybe 7 on 7. And Madden said, no. Madden was like, unless you can make it accurate to football, to real football, unless you
Right.
can put 11 players on the field, I won't put my name on it. And EA was like, we're right there. We can't quite, like, we were trying to get it to market. And he was like, no, this is a non-starter. 11 on 11, or I don't put my name on it. And so they came up with a way to put 11 players on the field for the initial Madden release. And he green checked it. He was into it. And famously, it becomes one of the biggest franchises in the world. But he basically spent 2 days on an Amtrak swearing at them.
Yeah.
And they were stunned by that.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, he's a football coach. What are you going to do? All right.
Exactly.
Back to football. Sanborn probably has earned his right to start on this football team next year. I would say that's a pretty safe bet. You get to handpick a linebacker partner from free agency or the draft. Who you got?
Oh, I'm going to turn the clock back and say, I like Nicholas Morrow. I do. I think he's a good player. Nicholas Morrow signed for the exact same contract that Kazir White
That's
signed
rough.
for. And Kazir White, linebacker, formerly with the Chargers, now with the Eagles, literally signed the exact same deal that Nicholas Morrow signed. And yes, Kazir White is Kevin White's brother. I get it. History with Chicago, blah, blah, blah. He's a better player, and he's a great weak side linebacker, and he's affordable. Like he would be, and both he and Sanborn are affordable. That's great. But they would make a very nice tandem for defensive coordinator Alan Cummings to be able to, or Alan Williams, sorry, Alan Cummings, actor, X-Men series, my bad. Alan Williams to be able to play up some defensive strategy with. And I wish they'd signed Kazir White. They didn't. They signed Morrow. I think Morrow's fine. But if I could turn the clock back, I'd say Kazir White. If not, I haven't dug into the draft class enough to say, and I honestly haven't dug into interior linebackers in free agency to be able to say these folks are available. But I will look into it because you asked.
I mean, number one Bears fan wants to know about Jack Campbell.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us, number one Bears fans. Happy to see you too. Happy holidays to you, Mom. Maybe I maybe want a little bit more range because Sanborn's one limitation, and he does have one limitation, is not quite edge to edge, close, big hustle player, can get close, can get to within 2 or 3 yard line, 2 or 3 yards of the sideline on either side, but true like sideline to sideline range, he didn't have that. He has everything else, and I'm fine with that. But if that's the case, the other guy ideally would have a tick more speed.
Yep, that makes sense. Ron, who would you like to see replace Mustafa?
You get to go first.
Anyone?
No, you get to go first.
Listen, good for Sam Mustafa for being what he is and playing hard and getting to where he's at. I don't want a dog on Sam Mustafa, and I don't need his relatives coming after me again. Not into that. Okay. He's not part of it. He's not going to be part of a championship roster, right? Like that. That's just, you absolutely need to upgrade at center. We've known that. No amount of offseason work is going to get him to be the type of player that you need to be a really good football team in modern day NFL. I really believe in the center being a force multiplier across the offensive line. I think it just makes you that much better if you have a good one. I think it's an incredibly valuable position. I don't know the answer. There's going to be guys out there. You have and others have turned me on to this Minnesota prospect, John Michael Schmitz, and he seems like my number one right now. But I'm available to be wooed by other center prospects. If and when that comes up, because from what I hear, there's a couple out there that might be pretty good.
Absolutely true. There always are. If we're turning the clock back, it's Luke Fortner out of Kentucky. Really like him. He's starting center for the Jags now. He is probably going to be Trevor's center for the next 3-4 years. There are some decent options in free agency. John Michael Schmitz is the highlight at center in the draft out of Minnesota. He was toying with coming out last year, said he was going to go back. It was one of those, I have about 3 every year that I'm like, they say they're going to go back. And I'm like, damn it. I wanted them this year. Great prospect either way. Probably the top center prospect. And yes, fully would embrace seeing him with a C on his helmet next year. Another guy from a resurgent Michigan program, Olusegun, Watimi, I think.
Olu squared.
Yeah, it's Olu. Played at Virginia, ended up at Michigan. Like he's a guy to watch. Jarrett Patterson, a lot of people have interest in because he's a Notre Dame guy. He's out there as well. There's a choice. There's some good interior offensive linemen, and there are always those guys in the 3rd, 4th round that you kind of look at and go, I think he could lead a line. I think he could be the pivot. And I haven't found those guys yet because I haven't dug in. I will find those guys. I always do. Those are some of the top names to sort of scrape off the top. I haven't even touched free agency yet. I see somebody says Bradley Bozeman down there. Sure, be better than what the Bears have right now. Would I be like thrilled with it? I don't know that I would jump up and down. Like, he's a good player. But there's gonna be options here, and it's really up to Poles and Eberflus to say, where's that priority? What do we think having a lockdown center? Maybe they think Patrick will come back healthy next year. I have doubts about that based on this year. Maybe they don't. Maybe they think, hey, he was really screwed up. They know they have access to the medical stuff and say, he was never going to play great this year after the injury. Maybe they want to see him take a fresh run at it. That's why they signed him. If not, lots of options to fill that.
Sam Mustafa created a voodoo doll of Lucas Patrick. That's 100% what happened. I mean, I don't have any proof, but I feel like, the line between the dots is kind of drawn for us, is what I'm saying.
Seemed like every time he had a chance, just something happened, and it was like, well, we're back to Sam.
Same thing with Kramer, right? I mean, it's one of those things.
Not for me.
No, I agree. You didn't see it in the tape, and I didn't really see it in camp either. But good athlete and all that kind of stuff. So maybe he can have a good offseason. Jared asks, what positions do you want to prioritize in the draft and avoid in free agency, and vice versa. I don't think that there's anything all that interesting to me at wide receiver. I think you've already made your move for the other complementary piece at wide. If this makes any sense, you have Mooney, who I think's your 2, and now you have Claypool, who I think is also a 2. Like, I think and that's fine. You need a 1, and the 1's not going to be on the market. Not going to be on a free agent market. You're going to have to trade a guy like T. Higgins. That's kind of a pipe dream, whatever. Or you're going to have to find him in the draft. And so I don't want the Bears to go out and spend a bunch of money on Jacoby Myers. That, so I want to avoid wide receiver free agency. I want to go there in the draft. I do think that they're going to need to pick up some offensive linemen in free agency, bring in some veterans, but they're probably also going to need to do that in the draft.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the defensive linemen, they're absolutely going to have to get some in free agency and probably the draft, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a both for a lot of those positions.
I would agree. And I would stay away from free agency wide receiver for the alpha. You do need the alpha. Probably have to draft that guy. That's the way you get those guys. I would love T. Higgins. T. Higgins has, beyond a shadow of a doubt, proved he is a true alpha. He's done that in the games that, Jamar Chase has been out this year. Other than that, I can't sort of rubber stamp a move of going after an alpha of an existing NFL wide receiver. You're going to have to take the gamble. Do you take that gamble in the first? You almost have to. However, historically, it is the worst gamble in the opening round. The lowest success or hit rate for any position in football in the first round is wide receiver. So, yeah, you got to take a swing, but the chances are ugly. I mean, it's like in the 13 and 14% range. It's really bad. So,
well, I mean, the Bears almost have to trade down because they need more draft capital. They stick at that top spot, it's for a defensive lineman. That's fine. Like, I get it. Those guys are incredibly talented, but like the way that their roster is currently constructed, I would be kind of shocked if they didn't trade down. So when you trade down and you gain more capital, well, now you have more opportunities to fill some of those holes, and you're drafting in a spot where you feel a little bit more comfortable taking a wide receiver at that level, right? Like, I mean, you can take a wide receiver at 3 or 2. No, like, you're going to take him at 12. Yeah, sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of difference of that. Those super premium picks, those need to be quarterback. And if there's no quarterback, you take left tackle and, your edge rusher, and maybe like a special corner, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's kind of it. Like, if you're taking anything else up that high, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Did you see that the Bears have a path to the number 1 spot that's not crazy?
Yeah, of course. Texans just have to beat the Colts next week.
Right. Texans have to beat the Colts.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for weeks.
Not impossible, right?
I bet that the Texans would beat the Titans last week. Like, I was on that. Ross and I were both on that. If you're watching the Sunday show or the weekend show now, since whatever the Gambler's Den, we were both on that, and Texans are playing tough right now. They're playing tough football. They'll probably lose the last 2 games. But they got a real chance, particularly against the Colts. If they're going to continue to play Nick Foles, they could absolutely sneak another win in. They would have 3.5. Bears would have 3. Bears would be a number 1 pick if they lose out. So absolutely, they could have the number 1 pick, which would be, people say, oh, what's the difference? A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
People want to be able to control the board. If you're in the first pick, you can take whatever quarterback you like. So, and the Bears, they could trade down twice, right? Like, they could trade down to, the 3rd spot or the 4th spot, and then they could trade that spot too, right? I mean, it would be it'll be a fun offseason no matter what. It'd be really fun if they had the number 1 pick to play with.
If the Bears have the number 1 pick, Ryan Poles is literally in driver's seat. The entire league looking up at Chicago saying, maybe, what do they take for it, right? And the answer is a premium. If you are at the number 1 pick, anywhere in the top 3, but the number 1 pick especially, for exactly the reason that JB brought up, you can name your price, especially if it's for a quarterback. If there is a quarterback that is a consensus or close to consensus number one, and there is some competition for their services, which there will always be in this league, you can name your price. And your price right now, the maximum you can trade pick wise to move up is three number one picks. And the Bears could get it. They could have the next three number one picks of a franchise if they are so enamored with a quarterback that they think if we wait, we won't get him. And we have the ammo. We believe that we need to do this to make our franchise relevant. That is the power of having Justin Fields. If the Bears didn't have Justin Fields, they would have to be considering picking that quarterback for themselves, because that's how you get the answer, is high in the draft, usually top 10. And if you're the top spot, you get the pick of the litter. You can take whatever you want. The Bears would almost certainly trade that pick if they get either number one or number two. They're going to trade that pick, and that is hugely beneficial for the franchise. They're going to get a boatload of return for that and be able to build this roster. And look, no BS. This roster needs building. Like, there are many positions on this roster that are deficient. Bears are going to have ammo to do that. So number one, number two, does it matter? Yeah, it does matter. The premium between 2 and 1 is significant. But if you're at number one, there is a realistic expectation you will come out of that with 3 future number one picks.
Yeah, obviously it matters how far they trade down, but it would be so much fun. Like, it would just be so much fun to cover, because you like you say, everybody's looking at you. The only reason why the Jags didn't trade out of that last year is there was no quarterbacks that were impressive. That's not the case this year. There are multiple, right? And let's say that if the year before, where the Jags had the first pick, they took Trevor Lawrence. Let's say they already had a quarterback. Let's say that draft class and they already had their guy. They would have been able to have a huge
whatever they wanted.
Right. Yeah. This is not the case, right? So it was Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback off the board. Pickett's fine, but where would you have Pickett in that draft class before? Would you have Pickett after Mac Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, he's kind of, but he's kind of there, right? He's at Mac, and then
it's comparable, but I would have taken Mac over Pickett without question. Like, it would have been close, but it would have been Mac, Pickett in a bracket and in that order.
Okay. So there you go, right? So that was the first quarterback off the board this last draft, Pickett, and he would have been
5th,
6th.
Yeah, 5th or 6th, depending on preference. I mean, some people put a premium on Alabama versus Pitt, or athleticism.
But you said you take Mac first. Mac was the 5th quarterback off the board.
I would.
Yeah, he was 5th off the board in that draft.
Right.
So he
but other on my board, he would have been 6th.
Yeah. But they're about the same. Okay.
Yep.
That's my point. So, but you got the quarterbacks this year. There's at least 3 that people are talking about up high. Hopefully for the Bears' sake, all 3 of them are like people want them, right? They want to come up. So, and that's what the question is right there. Is there really a quarterback? I think there is, right? I mean, there's people that are already salivating over some of these guys.
And it's not necessarily that they are. Everybody uses this phrase, and I hate it, so I'll bring it up and tell you why I don't like it. That's the one. Generational means within a 20-year period, one within 20 years. And, every year we have generational prospects, sometimes at the same position. That's not the definition of the word. I get it. The need for quarterback in the NFL is absolute. You have to have a quarterback to win. We talk about this a lot. You can't be the Ravens with Trent Dilfer. Like, that run does not exist in the modern NFL with the rules the way they are and the season slanted the way they are. You need a quarterback that can produce on offense. You cannot build a defense and special teams and say that's going to win us the Super Bowl. It's nice, but without an offense, you will not. Look at the last 4/8 finalists the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They all have quarterbacks, right? You need a quarterback to get to the dance. So there is always going to be a need. And for franchises that don't have it, that know they don't have it, right? We don't have a quarterback. We need a quarterback. They will give up literally anything to get there because they know if they don't have a quarterback, they can't compete. So that it's supply and demand. And if you're sitting at the top spot and can supply anything that the draft has available, and the draft in this case has 2 to 3 premium prospects at quarterback that you just kind of have to pick your flavor, people will pay for it because it is gold and you cannot get it another way. You're not going to trade for a quarterback in their prime and pay less. You're going to pay more because they've already demonstrated that ability. For the chance to develop that quarterback, you will pay everything you have.
That's how it is. Or you're just bad and you have the pick, and then you're fine. But if you have to move, you got to move, right? I mean, the Niners spent plenty of draft capital to move up for Trey Lance, right? And they, you know what I mean? Like,
And they got their guy with Mr. Irrelevant. So there's the draft in a nutshell.
There you go. Brock Purdy, huh? You're a Purdy guy?
Oh, 100%. He's playing out of his mind, and it's not normal. Like, we could go into long explanations of why what Brock Purdy is doing is not normal. And also, where the hell was that when he was at the Shrine Bowl? Like, we watched this guy for 4 days in practice in the game, and there were like a couple of sparks, and he was one of the 2 better quarterbacks at the Shrine Bowl, and he was not good. Like, we both came away going, hey, about where he got drafted was fine. We were like, yeah, that seems reasonable. Like, we were like, oh, why is nobody drafting Brock Purdy? Like, and then he comes out, and in his first 4 significant pieces of NFL game action is lights out.
We'll have to get you a Brock Purdy shirt because, I mean, they're insane here. We got our local t-shirt shop. I took a picture of them and I posted them on my Twitter account, but insane number of Purdy t-shirts.
Send me one. I absolutely, it's a great story. Like, it's one of the best stories going in the NFL this year, and I would absolutely wear it. I would wear it on the pod. I will eat my whatevers because the NFL is a meritocracy. Whatever you do on the field is what it is. And you look at the 49ers team behind Brock Purdy right now, they believe, and they are crazy dangerous right now. Like, nobody wants to play them. Forget the seed, forget what round. Like, you go, oh, your draw is the 49ers, and everybody's like, shit. Like, that's because the defense under D'Amico Ryans incredibly rugged, and then the offense under Purdy is a whole different thing than it is under Jimmy G. Under Jimmy G, it's efficient and pretty good, and if it plays within its means, it's going to beat you. Under Purdy, it's like they're all just fired up and want to run over your face. It's completely different.
Yeah, it's insane. I certainly bet against him because why wouldn't you? And the book wasn't moving for him, and you're like, okay, come on, like what, it was they believed in the Purdy play, and it blows my mind. But good for him. It's going to be a fun playoffs because it looked like for a while the Eagles were just going to be the NFC team. Like, it just didn't look like anybody could compete with them.
No competition. Now it's
now you got somebody that can compete with, and the Vikings fans, good luck to them. Like, I think they're in for a rude awakening, but
or I should say,
they'll have fun.
God love you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you bring your hot dish and you enjoy a nice playoff game. But I think they're in for a rude awakening when the playoffs come around. That honestly, the Vikings season reminds me a little bit of, I mentioned this on the other show, reminds me a little bit of the 0-1 Bears, where it's super fun. The games they were winning that they probably shouldn't have, right?
Yeah,
Bears kind of came a little bit more out of nowhere than the Vikings. I thought the Vikings would win the division. I put a bet on them win the division. Like, none of that surprises me, but there's a lot of these games like the Bears were winning where they probably shouldn't have. This 0-1 season. Vikings, man, they are, I mean, that Bills game, the game that we watched together.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, no way they should have won that game. That was insanity.
No. There's a lot of paper tiger to the Vikings this year, and I've said this on Bootleg, so this is not talking out of school. They feel like a team that can run over a team on any given week, but if Kirk and Justin go cold on a particular week, they're done. Like, there's nothing. There's no second punch. There's no punt return for touchdown. There's no pick six that saves them. Like, if Microwave Kirk is turned off or unplugged for the week and he throws up one of those play down to the level of the opponents versus anyone, honestly, 49ers, absolutely. Eagles, for sure. We already talked about that. Panthers, like if the Panthers come out and whoop them in the mouth, like the Panthers are doing right now, if they just lean into their run game and Icky starts running over their defensive ends and Deontay Foreman's like, that's right, 6 yards a carry, let's go. And the Vikings don't respond and Kirk just sputters for a week, that's it. They're out of the playoffs. Like there is no counterpunch. There is no second move. It's Kirk and Justin rule the game and they win, or this is fizzle.
All right, I got a question for you.
Okay,
we're not getting any more pop culture stuff, which I'm disappointed in.
that's all right. But you can throw it up there.
Yeah. So what's the best thing that you've seen this year? The end of the year. What's the best thing you've seen this year?
It's a really good question. For TV, and I don't have TV, so it's all subscription on the box over there. We ended up getting Hulu kind of on a whim this year because there was something that Beck, my wife, wanted to see on Hulu, and she said, "Would it matter to you to have ESPN Plus?" And I was like, "I had access to it, but it kind of sure." We already had Disney, so we could bundle it all together and get the 3 package deal. And then I got into Hulu and I was like, sweet, there's a bunch of things on Hulu that I just wasn't watching because I didn't have Hulu. Like Prey, the movie, was really good. It's the best thing the Predator franchise has put out in a long time. But there was one series that I kind of had put in the back of my mind. Just, I can't see it because I don't have Hulu. And it's The Old Man, Jeff Bridges. Stunning stuff. Like brilliant stuff. John Lithgow, Jeff Bridges, like brilliant stuff and right down my alley, like 100% made for me. Loved it and super duper layered. You can go back. It's not very many episodes, but you can go back and watch them and be like, oh God. I missed that the first time and it has so much meaning because I know what it means. Like it's just super well constructed. It was beautifully shot. The way that they produced the show itself, I'm big into visual design, was almost like a series of vignettes that were connected. There was a separation between each of them, between each almost like scene or act. It was very theatrical that way. Gorgeous stuff. I would say not completely unexpected, but like mostly unexpected, just blew me out of my chair. Like somebody said on Twitter today, "Oh, The Old Man's on my list too, so I'm going to start that." And I was like, "Man, to be able to watch that again."
Oh, it's one of those like, I'm so jealous of you that you.
That's what I said. I put up the GIF of I'm not jealous at all. I said if I could watch that again for the first time and be that wowed again. So TV, probably The Old Man, brilliant stuff. I thought it would be good. It was like way better than that.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Terminal List was also
okay. I watched it. It was
really good. My favorite thing about that was I saw that Chris Pratt was the lead.
Yeah.
And I was like, because Chris Pratt to me is a little bit like Nick Cage, and that's not a shot. That's a Nick Cage kind of plays the same character in each movie. And it works around him, and that's a great credit to him. But Chris Pratt kind of plays the same, like, I have some humor, I have some self-effacing, I have some, seriousness, but not a ton. That's the Chris Pratt like box, if you want to say that. Chris Pratt's performance in The Terminalist, I was like, this is not going to work. Like, he can't be what this character requires. Right. And then I watched the list and I was like, oh, okay. He can. Like, I was impressed by that. Was this story tremendous? No, it has Northwest bent, which is fine, but it was like he laid it down as a guy who is going to the wall no matter what. And those characters are kind of cool, good or bad. I like it. So it was more a revelation about Chris Pratt than it was about the story or the setting or whatever. It was like, oh, he can do that. Like he has more range that I
Sure.
thought he had. That was impressive. Movie-wise, I didn't see a lot of movies in the theater. In fact, one of the only movies I've seen in a theater over the last year, I went and saw last night with my daughter. I went and saw Wakanda Forever. I was not ready for the Chad Boseman stuff. I miss him. He's really good. And it was, as a movie, whatever. But like there were moments in there.
Yeah.
It was a good film. It was a large film, big film, long film, lot to cover. But yeah, it hit me for sure.
Well,
What
for
about you?
me, the movies wise, I probably haven't seen enough good movies. I think that I'm realizing that. But I just watched Glass Onion, the Knives
Mm,
Out one, and I really liked it. Like
mhm.
I think it's fun, and I remember watching the first Knives Out. We went to the theater, and I didn't know what to expect, and it was like so unexpected
Mhm.
how much fun it was, and just like how kind of like it took itself seriously enough so that it was good, but it didn't take itself so seriously that I mean, there was just this like really
Balance.
fun balance and line. And when they're gonna make another one, and I was like, oh, I mean, that's probably not gonna work, right? Like you just kind of get this like, oh, don't do that. For
It
it's
was a
just
one-time thing.
fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I just, there was some really good laugh out loud lines. Really enjoyed it. TV shows. I've watched a lot of TV shows, so like there's a lot of good stuff. But creative wise, things that kind of just surprised me. Murderville was super, super creative. It's Will Arnett, and
Yeah.
it's like largely unscripted. And if you guys haven't seen it, you probably have, but if you haven't seen it, you have to at least watch the Marshawn Lynch episode.
I heard it was really good.
Unbelievable. Like I love Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien's episode was good. Don't get me wrong. Marshawn Lynch was better than Conan O'Brien. And then go watch, if nothing else, watch those 2 episodes. Again, I'm a big Conan fan, so I'll defend him. And then listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend when he has Marshawn Lynch on, and they talk about their experience
The
on that
Murderville.
show. It's really, I don't know. I find that really fun. And then there's a show called Loot, who I love Maya Rudolph. She's great.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I was sorry. I'm in the Northwest, so my college rival was the Lutes, which is crazy because it's a musical instrument. Lute,
okay.
right? Pacific Lutheran, the Lutes.
Okay.
So I was like, Lute, Lute. And I was like, oh no, the Maya Rudolph thing, which is way funnier.
I find the show overall like okay, like it's pretty fun. It's light. It's not that serious. There's a couple characters that I don't think actually are very good, but Ron Funches, who I knew as a comedian, um, he's amazing. Ron Funches is amazing in this show, and he was a revelation to me. Like, again, some of the other characters are fine. The show overall, like whatever. Like Ron Funches, like just whoa! Like I'm now a big Ron Funches fan. So that was kind of something that stuck out to me for pop culture. So, all right, there's our pop culture aside. Another question here. We'll do these two unless anybody has any more. But what surprises that you
Yeah.
had in the NFL?
I was hoping that was one of the two you're going to pick because I wanted to answer that one. AFC West.
Yeah.
Like before the year, Brett and I did our divisional offseason preview episodes all through the summer, 40 of them total. And we came back to the fact that over and over again, AFC West, I called it the kaiju division, the great monster division, right? That it was going to be these huge giant robots fighting each other and that it was going to be amazing and awesome. And everybody had just kind of upped the ante. Like, Denver had gone out and got Russell Wilson and, Chargers had Justin Herbert and the Raiders were like, well, fine, we'll go get Chandler Jones. Like, and Devontae Adams, like, what do you got? Like, everybody just pushed their chips into the middle of the table. And we thought, this is going to be the shit fight of the NFL. This is going to be the division that just eats itself. And the Chargers come out and kind of charger under Brandon Staley and injuries, which is what they do. The Chiefs come out and do the Chief thing under Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, which is They're first in everything offensively for the year, but it's like they're gonna miss Tyreek Hill. I'm like, literally, they're first in everything in offensive matters. Like, that's it. They don't miss him at all. The Raiders come out under Josh McDaniels and can't find themselves like with both hands. They're struggling. And then Russ and Hackett getting fired. Like Denver just, I said on this week's bootleg, which will come out tomorrow, that Chernobyl looks like a slow burn compared to that. It is just,
Man, we are on the same. I literally made a Chernobyl reference to the Broncos in my 10 thoughts article this week.
100%. It just, and we hadn't talked about that, by the way.
No, that's totally random.
Like totally random, but I was like, this is so bad. And it's funny because I know you have these tweets and I have these tweets too. The tweets that you put up and you're like, I shouldn't send that. And when the Broncos were literally shit fighting on the sidelines, when offensive linemen were chirping at backup quarterbacks about whether or not they picked up Russ when he got hit, I was like, this is different. Like, there are sideline fights and there are Aaron Rodgers throwing his Microsoft Surface and whatever. And then there is this. And this is coach killing. This is lack of institutional control. This is assigned to whoever's in charge, which is new owners in the Denver case, going, oh no, there's no coming back from this. This is beyond the pale. We've reached the limit. And I didn't send it. I was like, that just seems like kicking a dead horse. Not 16 hours later, they fire their first year head coach, which is the first time since Pete McCauley in 1978 that a first year head coach has been fired in season, besides Urban, which was off the field shit. Like the first time since I was 7 years old that an NFL team has gone, nah, we don't care how much we paid you. Get out. Like, get out. That's significant. Like, that is a complete dumpster fire, shit show, whatever you want to say. Like, it is the whole thing. And you have players reacting on social media. Oh, it's going to be so much better. We can't wait. Like, the lid is lifted. Like, the whole bit. Like, the AFC West has been entirely surprising. Also, if you want to flip side it, it's NFC East. Like the NFC East is, we all said, look, Dable's going to be good for the Giants, but he's still got Danny Dimes. He's not going to compete. Wins a shitload of games. The Eagles, oh, they're a super team. They're going to complete superpower. Denver doing as well as Denver does. Like, did I tell you I heard the best Denver shade ever in a bar last weekend?
No.
The two offensive linemen that I texted you about, and I said, these guys are giving off serious offensive lineman vibes.
Right.
And then at halftime, I went up to them and said, so you guys look like offensive linemen. They were like, guilty as charged. I was like, all right. So there's a group of Dallas fans that have started coming to the Buffalo Wild Wings. They sit at the bar. There's 4 or 5, super loud. And so Denver, Dallas does a great thing. And they're like, yeah, they're Cowboys fans, all Cowboys. And one of the offensive linemen, both of those guys from Kansas City originally, they came out to see a Seahawks game. Didn't take very kindly to the Cowboys' love. And so these guys are popping off the bar about the game that Dallas eventually loses last weekend, right, in overtime. One of them says directly to the Cowboys fans, oh, is this your year? Is this it? Is this what it looks like? Is this your year? And I was like, okay. Like, just bring up the fact they haven't won anything in like a quarter decade or quarter century. Like, all right. Like, he was like, is this your year? Is this what it looks like? Oh, yeah. Is this it? It was impressive.
Well, I mean, offensive linemen. I mean, normally
they're they were like
that, but they know how to handle themselves. So
bring the smoke. Let's
go. I mean, I write a prediction column and I make bets and I make those bets public. So you guys get to see what I'm doing right and wrong. And I will say overall, I kind of had the league nailed. Like I missed I thought the Chargers would be better and the Chiefs would come back down to earth, and I thought the Broncos would be competitive. Yes, AFC West, I didn't really have right. I didn't believe in the Raiders. You could have talked me into like they'd be competitive, and they've won 6 games. Like they're not. I know now the Carr thing and all that, but I didn't get, that division I thought would be much more competitive. I thought the Chargers would take over, whatever. Okay, I got that one wrong, but I was on the Eagles, right? I mean, I love Dayball. I didn't necessarily think they would miss this many games or anything like that, but like I kind of had that division kind of pegged. The North, the NFC North, I had completely nailed. Like I had Vikings winning it, Packers would go down. Like I put money on the Vikings to win that division. I thought the Lions would be fun. I thought they'd hover around 500. They got there in a weird way, but that's right. I bet the an alternative under on the Cardinals. I didn't understand what people were thinking about the Cardinals. Got that. Bet the alternative under on the Packers. Meaning like their over under was 11, and I bet him under 10 because I got better odds. Right? Like
Yeah.
I got
Nailed it.
yeah, I mean,
I said the Packers would continue until Aaron left, and I did not expect the early season slide. I said Minnesota will fight them for it, but until Aaron decides that he doesn't want to do it anymore, it's the Packers, and I won't go away from it, which is the same thing I said about KC with Patrick Mahomes. I was like, it's like it might be a fight, but at the end, it's going to be KC and Patrick. And I said the same thing about the NFC North, except I said it about the Packers, which was until Aaron says it's over, it ain't over. And then they came out of the gate and stumbled hard. Kevin O'Connell fired him up. Like, good on him for saying the Vikings were going to win it.
Yeah, I stayed away from the NFC South because
because
one of those teams really interested me, right? And I kind of said that
all under 500,
and
which is
I thought that the
staggering.
Bucks would easily win it, but I mean I didn't love them, but so I was.
Agreed.
And you can say I'm wrong, but whatever. Like
I said
that's not
same.
that wrong. AFC East, I was the Jets have done a little better than I thought, but other than that, I kind of had that nailed. I've got that kind of so I felt pretty good about where I was at the beginning, but certainly the Matt Rule, Matt Rule. I said in my column he's going to be the first coach fired in season. Baker Mayfield's not going to be able to keep his job, like stuff like that, right? Like Nick Bosa for Defensive Player of the Year, like I had a bunch of that stuff and it kind of hit. That makes me feel pretty good, but you can't get everything right.
No, but that's a lot. Like
it was a lot more than I went back. I expected to kind of kill
like,
myself on like, hey, I'm burning myself with my predictions because all I could remember was the stuff I got wrong. In the prediction article, I will say this: in the prediction article, I was saying Rams, they're gonna be great because they really hit their stride there. They're gonna be great. And I pivoted so hard after that Thursday game, which you shouldn't necessarily do. You shouldn't have overreaction in week one. But
nope.
I saw them lifeless. And I immediately went out and I put a bet on the Niners before the Niners played their first game against the Bears. I bet on the Niners to win that division so that I could take away my position on the Rams. Because I didn't believe in the Seahawks and I didn't believe in the Cardinals. And I thought, nope, Niners win in this division. I bet enough on the Niners to win the division that took away all my position on the Rams.
You know who you are historically? Pontius Pilate. I wash my hands. I wash my hands. I want none.
It was such a bad. I was like, oh no, and I just all the things that I had avoided.
Yeah. You're like, I want none
their
of
coach thinking about retiring, Aaron Donald thinking about all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, oh crap, I'm in a bad place, and I got out of my position very quickly.
I don't blame you. We were at that game at SoFi, and more than what we took away. Again, week one overreactions are super common, and largely should be avoided. There's some weird crap that happens in week one every year, but what we took away from that game was less Rams and more, oh my God, if the Bills play like this, if Josh Allen takes what the defense gives him, they're unbeatable. And they did that game. Like he sat back, he was patient, and he destroyed them. And we were like, oh my God, he was a super weapon before, but if he has patience on top of that, forget it. Nobody's beating him. And for the first 4 to 6 weeks. They played like that. And then they started to lean heavy into superpower Josh, and they got worse. And then the elbow injury happened, and they had to be more balanced, and they got better, right? They leaned more on all the stuff that they've assembled. And then a little bit over the last 2 weeks, they've started to just lean on Josh again because the elbow looks good. He's got some zip on the ball, and they start putting the ball back in his hands. And I actually think that makes them less effective. I know it's a crazy take, but we concentrated less on the Rams and more on the Bills after being in that incredibly hot
I
opening
already
Thursday.
had Bills bets. Like I have one of my biggest bet of the year is Bills just winning the Super Bowl. So like I already had that. That didn't worry me. It was the Rams bet that I have to win the West. That's not going to happen. Get out of that bet now. So I give myself credit for pivoting as fast as I did.
You should. I want to get to Mr. Myrtle's question after Jared Cole's.
Okay. We'll do it quick. I just want to say
Okay.
to Jared. So Jared says this is supposed to be Carr. Has previously said he doesn't want to play for anything else. What chance do you give it that he hangs up after the season? 0. Players say this crap all the time. They don't mean it, right? Now he's motivated to go prove it that he's going to go otherwise. Whatever. That stuff doesn't matter. He says that because that's what the fan base likes to hear. Maybe he believes it at the time. Things change quickly. He still's got good football left in him. I am not a Derek Carr fan. Like I am not somebody who's ever really liked Derek Carr or thought that Derek Carr was like, he's the Kirk Cousins kind of line, right? I know Kirk's having a nice year, but like he's that line where you say below this line, you can't win a Super Bowl. Above this line, you can probably win a Super Bowl, but at the line, can you? Right? Like that's kind of where Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr's of the world are. And I don't think very highly of Derek Carr. I think he's kind of below that anyway. He's going to keep playing. Like he's not going to walk away because the Raiders don't want him anymore.
Yeah. Somebody's going to take a chance on Carr because he is talented and he can take a talented team to the precipice. Can he take them over that? We'll see. He has that level of talent. It hasn't come out this year in Vegas. We've seen it in previous years in Vegas. You look at the first half of a couple of Raiders seasons over the past 2 or 3 years, like, holy shit, they were hot. Like, yikes. They were not a team you wanted to play, but then down the stretch, they couldn't hold together. Some team will take a gamble on that talent.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, last one, and then we'll get out of here because I'm going to finish Jack Ryan.
I love this one. This is a great one.
All right, so Bears have number 1 pick. Raiders offer pick number 9. It probably be a little better than that maybe by the end of the year, if they're already benching Carr and kind of whatever. Davante Adams and a day 2 pick in 23 and 24. So like, let's say a second rounder next year and a third rounder in 24 or something like that. Is that enough compensation to say yes? My answer is no. That's not enough. What about you?
Hell yeah. 100%.
Okay. Why?
And it's largely fueled by you, strangely.
Okay.
Davante Adams driving the knife into the Packers for the next 2 to 3 years. You would die for that. 100% your Packers hating, Bears loving soul would die to see Davante scoring on Jair Alexander, Adrian Amos, you name it, like Savage, like just beating people, having Justin Fields hit Davante Adams of all people deep to win games, which he can do. You'd be dancing on the grave there. You'd be all about it.
He's 30 years old.
You don't care.
I do care. He's 30 years old.
Oh, you don't care.
And it's not enough juice other than that. Like the 2 and the 3, that doesn't mean anything to me. I need another
what if it was
one.
a 2 and a 2?
I need another one.
Honestly, you think 2 ones is the thing.
I need another one.
Okay.
That's it.
Literally,
you if you give me another one.
Okay, you're going 8 picks down. Like, you're still going to get a very top 10. You're getting a very good player. I get it. But if it was a 2-2 and one of the best receivers who has not been able to show that this year in McDaniel's offense with his former college quarterback as his quarterback, I get it. He's still showing flashes, 30 or not, as one of the top 30 receivers in this league. And if you sleep on that, it's at your own peril. If he comes, he is a great deep ball receiver with Justin Fields' ability to uncork a couple of game. Like, he is that alpha. He completes the wide receiver room. He makes Claypool and Mooney slot into the appropriate slots. I would say if you give the one this year a 2-2 plus Devonta Adams in a heartbeat, you've got a proven commodity. Let's do it.
I need another one.
I know you hate
honestly,
anybody that's worn green and gold. You hate them.
Well, again, and Devonta Adams did it for a long time.
I
I'm
know
not
you
gonna like him
hate
because he wants to come here. No, he's 30 years old. That bothers me.
No,
Guys
he
fall off a
wore
cliff.
green and gold. That's the thing. We know it's okay.
Don't tell me what I think. I'm telling you, like, Julio Jones, he's 33. He's done, right? I mean, he's
Julio Jones is a different deal. He was, even in his period of like,
how many years do you think Devonta Adams has left?
Couple. 2.
Okay, 2 years.
Don't care. That's the window. Like, if you don't hit it within the next 2 for the Bears, like, forget it. Like, we're not. We're gonna pull some asset that 3 years from now is gonna make a huge difference. Like, no, the windows are so much.
That's what the draft picks are for.
No.
Yeah, they're starting new. I don't know.
Window doesn't last that long. It'll be a new coaching staff by that point.
They won't like I don't have a good track record of receivers that are that productive into their mid-30s.
Okay. All right, fine. But if you give me a 1 and 2 twos and Adams, I'm 100% in.
Okay. All right. Well, that's where we did. You said I could name my price if I
had
the number 1 pick.
100%.
And I'm naming my price.
Good for you.
All right. Well, there you go. You got us riled up. Sounds like the chat is split as well, by the way. It sounds like some agree with me, some agree with you. Maybe we should put up a poll on Twitter.
We should. Twitter poll it is.
Okay. Let's get out of here. I'm going to go finish Jack Ryan. I've got one episode left.
You can finish Jack Ryan. I want to say one thing first, which is thank you to everybody in the chat, in Twitter comments, in whatever way you interact with any of our work, whether it's the betting show with JB and Ross, who's amazing, whether it's Bootleg with me and Brett, whether it's Bears Over Beers, whether it's Windy City Gridiron, Lester, Robert, Taylor, it doesn't matter. Amazing. This has been an amazing year. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody putting the energy into it and the enthusiasm, the questions, super chats, comments. I don't care. Like, the fact that you care, the fact that you show up, the fact that you interact, the fact that you would hang out with us on a Wednesday night, have a drink, talk about theoreticals for the draft, for next year, for free agency. It's amazing. I love it. It's awesome. It's a cool community. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks for interacting with us. Love y'all.
Well said. I won't add anything more. Have a good New Year's. Be safe. I don't want to sound like a dad or anything, but be safe.
I'm a dad. I can say it. Yeah. Be freaking safe. Uber's there for a reason. Don't drink and drive.
Absolutely. All right, guys.